working, but not to Jim Cunliffe.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first day of hijacking Tammy's channel to show you guys how to use Procreate. And before we get too deep into it, the reason we got into it is because I know some of you people out there would like to learn how to do some basic Procreate. So that's all we're going to do. We're not going to get too deep into all the little fancy stuff that they can do, just some of the basic stuff. And also we're going to go over some of the other apps that can be used instead of Procreate. So, Chris, you want to switch over to the next camera? And hold on a second, it's coming up. So, with Procreate, Procreate is only used on an iPad, and the particular iPad that I have here is a 11 or 12 inch. I think it's a 12 inch, and the size of it, if you were to have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, it fits right over on top of it. Okay. I also have a smaller iPad that I used to use. It was a 9 inch. But it got cracked. So when I got a new one, I went to the bigger one, which made it a lot nicer. Now, the only issue I ever came across when trying to draw on an iPad is how smooth the screen is. So the pen would slide across really easy. In most cases, it was fine. But me being somebody who likes to draw with pencil, you're used to having some friction between the pencil and the paper. Well, there was a fix for that. It turns out that, which I have on here now, a screen protector that is designed to make this feel like paper. So when your pen goes across it, you can feel the friction on there. So it feels more like pencil and paper. So as we're going through this, if you guys have any questions about what you would like to see down the road, just let me know, and I'll see about scheduling something like that in. So let's first off, before we get too deep into Procreate, let's take a look at one of the other apps. So there's a bunch of different apps out there for drawing on the iPad. And so I did a little research, and most of them I've actually drawn with before, but the one that's closest would be this, the Sketchbook. And Sketchbook is a free app, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. It does have layers over on this side here, like what Procreate does. And it's got your different pencil and brush settings over here. But there's a few of them, and you can make your adjustments to your sizes and all that. And there's markers and airbrush and so on, and erasers and paintbrushes. But I can't tell you everything about this because I haven't used it a lot, and it's been a while since I have used it. But it is a free program, and this program is available on Android. So if you don't have an iPad, you can get this on Android, and it's probably the closest thing that I found to Procreate. So let's go back to Procreate. Now, Procreate's not free, but it's only $10, and it is well worth the cost because it does pretty much everything. And there's always something new coming out, and there's thousands of brushes that are available now. It does come with a good amount of set of brushes when you get Procreate, but you can always get more and install them. Now, we're not going to get to installing new brushes and stuff today, but I'll show you how to get to them. You can also get different types of paper textures. So when you start a new app, start a new project, you can have the texture of the paper inside your artwork. So when you're ready to start a project, you go over here to the add at the top. Well, in my case, this is the upper right-hand corner. Procreate does have a way you can change this the layout a little bit. So mine here, there's a plus sign. You hit that plus sign and you got these different choices here, which you can also add more to yourself. But we're gonna start off really simple here. We're going with the screen size. Now, depending on the memory that your iPad has, it will determine how many layers you can have and how much resolution you can have and so on. So from here, you up at the over here, you got your brushes, you got your smudge and eraser, and then over here you have your layers, and then in the far corner you have your colors. So to get a brush, click on this part here, and it brings up the brush library, and there's all kinds of brushes in here, and they're all in different categories. So for example, in sketching, we got these different types of pencils. So I'm going to set this to black just so you can see it really well. Peppermint, Derwent, and some of these you'll notice are pretty similar, but then you get like your 6B pencil, okay, and you can see it's pretty dark. And what's also cool about the iPad and the pencil is it can work just like a pencil. So as I brush lightly on here, you can see it's light, and the harder I brush, the darker it is. And also when you tip your pencil to the side, it brushes light like a pencil on its side. So it's pretty neat. And you got all these other types. You got pastel. Over here you can change your pen width. And then they got stuff like inking. So here's a technical pen and a gel pen. And also here you can see as I change the pressure, the pen also changes width. And this all depends on the different type of brush you're using. So if I go light on this one, it's thinner. As I press harder, it gets thick and wide. Let's go ahead and clear this out. And the way I can do that, the quickest way is I can go to layers, and on the layer I'm on, I'll swipe left and just hit clear. Go down to drawing. They got a few others. Calligraphy, so they got some calligraphy type pencils in here, ink pens. Artistic. They even got like elements here, so you got like cloud textures. So you can make like clouds. So without going through all of them, I mean, like I said, even with ones that came with this application, I mean, there's about 100 of them in here. So it gives you a variety of stuff you can do with it. So let me clear this out one more time, and I'm going to go and just grab a regular pencil, and I'm going to show you how the smudging part here works. So if we started drawing or shading something in over here, and I'll make some different shades here. I can go to the smudge. Now the smudge also, when you click it twice, you got the same texture as you would at the pens. The one I usually use the most of the time would be under the paint and the round brush. That's what I use most of the time. So it depends on what you want to do. You'd have to play around with it to see what works best for you. And on this side here, you can change the size, and you can change how hard it actually applies on here. I usually start off around the middle area, but then as you brush across here, and this also works with the pressure of your pencil, you can see how it can smudge what you're working on. So let's go grab a couple colors here. So I'm going to grab some red. And then let's change this to a yellow and go next to it. Get my smudge here. You can see I can just blend them both together. So this here are just some examples of stuff you can do. So imagine what you can do with you got, for example, you might remember this. This is something I I colored on the iPad, and I've done all the blending of the colors here. So you could take one of your drawings, and we'll get to that later on how to import a picture like this into your iPad. But as an example, I've got one in here. Let's go. Actually, we'll do this. I'll show you how to put one in. So we say I got one I saved already. So I'm going to clear this out, and I have it stored in my photo album. So the way you put one in is we'll go to the wrench here and to add, and we'll say insert photo, and I'll come down to Winking Wanda here, and now it brings Winking Wanda in. And then from there, I can tell it to, I can change the size of it and place it wherever I need it. I can rotate it, and if I hold my finger on the screen, I think it just does this set. No, maybe it does do this here. But anyway, you get the idea. And here I can have it go to full-size screen. So you find the color you want and find the pencil or the ink pen or the brush, whatever brush you would like to use. And then you can start. Well, what I'd like to do is not color directly on what I put on here. I would like to go grab a layer on top of it. So if I'm coloring on this and I make a mistake, I can go and erase it and not even worry about messing up what's on the background because it's on a separate layer. So you're only affecting what layer you are on. So let's say I go in, I start drawing on here, which I'm not going to do nice and neat right now. And I want to add another color in here, just really quickly. Then I can start taking my blender here, get the size I want, and I can start blending it all in here to however I want it to look like. So, like when I do skin, like what I did on this girl here, what I usually do for myself is I would lightly go in with a light color and just color the whole thing one color on the background. And then I'll take a darker color and go in on that one and then start with my blender and blend it in just like you would if you did with Copic markers or pencil or whatever media you like to use. So let's go ahead and clear this out here. So that's the advantage of using the layers. You don't have to touch your actual drawing itself. So what I like to do is, like on this one here, one layer I'd use for all the skin, and then I take another layer on top of that. So you just go ahead here, just add a layer. You can put one color on that layer, add another layer, and I can color something completely different on that layer. And even if I cross over top of here, so like I've got this green on top of this orange, if I messed up, I want that green there, you can see I can erase that green and not even touch the orange there because it's on a separate layer. Now what you can do when you're all done, let's say you finished all your layers, you got your different colors down on your different objects, and once you're all done, you can convert all this down to one layer. So you can click on your layer here and say merge down. So now this layer and this layer are merged together. So if I start blending, you can see they'll blend together. Now this layer, the back layer, is still separate, so it hasn't been affected. Another thing you can do with the layers, which comes in pretty handy. Let's say I want to do let's see, something simple here. We're going to do just this little area right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a solid black here, just to give you guys an idea of what you can do with this. And I'm going to fill this section in here with all the black. And the black is not really what I'm going to be using, what I'm going to have on this finished part here. I'm just using this black right now as a template, kind of like a template, or kind of like a mask in a way. I'm masking out what I want on here, what I want to color, because what I want to actually put on here is a pattern on this particular area. So now what I do, and actually what I should have done is I should have made another layer. So let me do that one more time here. I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to do it on this side. And I'm going to use some of a pencil. Let's get something a little bit more fluid. I'm going to go to paint. Use the solid one here. Make it a little smaller. And just make it dark and fill this in. And this is going to make it really easy to put a pattern on here and not go outside of this particular area. Okay, so now this solid black right here is on a layer all by itself, and I can hide that layer by clicking this checkbox here. Try again. So that's disappeared, and I can bring it back again. Okay. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to click on that layer, and I'm going to tell it to be, here we go, clipping mask. Okay. So now these two layers are kind of connected together. I'm going to go to my brushes and just find some crazy pattern I want to use. Let's just use this one here, I guess. We can get it small, little lightning things. And I'm going to change the color to yellow. So now when I go back over onto here and I start coloring, if I color over here, you can see nothing happens. But as soon as I go across there, let's make this a little smaller. I just got black again. There we go. So nothing's happened over here, but once I cross over top of that, you can see the pattern on there. So it only stays inside of what I did. Now, you can still see the black behind there, but I can change that. If I go back to that layer, click on this layer here, I can change that background color by dragging and dropping that stuff in there. So there's some examples you can do with these layers and with the clipping. And there's a lot more type of stuff you can do with these different layers, with the alpha lock and all kinds of stuff like that. But that gets a little more complex, which we could probably get into later. One thing to keep in mind too is as you're making all these layers and you're coloring stuff, sometimes you can get lost in what's what. So what you can do is you can name these layers. So if I had a layer for the face, okay, I can go and click on the layer and click on rename. And I can back that out and type in whatever I want in there. So if you get a complex drawing and you got a whole bunch of layers you're working with, it makes it easy to start finding stuff. So like when I did this person here, you know, I have a layer for the skin. I have a layer for the hair. I have the layer for the wings. I have a layer for the flowers. So it keeps everything separate. It makes it easy to correct things if you mess things up and without messing something else up. And then, like I said, once you're done, you can convert them all down to one layer. Or you can just keep them all separate layers, and you can when you export this out, it'll export into a single layer. So does anybody have any questions on what we've been doing so far
Nope.
here.
We have a few people on, but we don't have any specific questions. I think basically they're watching to see what they can learn.
Okay.
I mean, for the first few tutorials that you give them, it's all brand new. So
Yeah. So
I have a question.
yes.
When you buy Procreate, I can't remember, but when you buy it, does it come with automatic brushes, or do you have to load brushes?
Yes. When you first get Procreate, it'll come with quite a few brushes here. So the ones it comes with, that I remember that it comes with is it has this organic one, which has all of these here. It has industrial, which has all these interesting. Let me get some color in here so we can see it. I'm going to delete these out. So you got these industrial type textures you can have. It's got the vintage stuff, touch up, this spray paint, and there's a lot of really cool looking.
Now that one that you just put on, the big red one,
Yeah.
is that the size of the brush that made it do that?
Yes,
Okay.
and then you can I can make it bigger
or smaller.
or smaller, and I can do light and hard. So just like the pencil,
Right.
The lighter you go, the lighter it is. The harder I push, the darker it goes. And then some days you can see with this in here, as I change it, the size, you can see the brush changes size too by applying more pressure.
Right.
So they all work a little bit different, So you just have to play around and see what they can do. But you can see all these here, it comes with a lot of different types of brushes. And the other cool thing too is you can take, and this gets a little more deep into it, but you can grab any one of these brushes in here and find one that you like and modify it. So I can go in this gel pen, for example, click it once to get on it and click it again. And it takes you into this section here, where you can, and I haven't done a lot of this myself, but you can go and you can modify the look of the brush and how it works.
So those are the specifications of the brush.
Yeah, these are the specifications of that particular brush.
The length, how much jittering.
How it works and how big it is and how much it'll spread out and so on. So and it, depending on the type of brush you got in here, there's different types of settings for it. And there's also a way to go back and reset it. But you can make a change in a brush, and I believe you can save it as your own and still keep the old one. But the way you would do that, though, is you would have to go in and copy the brush first. So
you don't lose the original.
Yeah, so you don't lose the original one. You would want to copy what you have first, and then go and rename the new one. We're not going to get into that today, but just to give you, an example of some stuff you can do.
We have someone new by the name of Batty Lim. She's a newbie on Procreate, I assume, as well. She doesn't have any questions right now, but I just wanted to make sure you knew. I welcomed her.
So that's and here we got one called Spaced Out. Now this is an example of a brush and I installed, and it's got a bunch of different type of space type objects you can use.
Where do you buy from?
Well, there's multiple places you can buy from. If you go out onto either YouTube or even go to Google and do a search on Procreate brushes, there are multiple people out there that sell. They create them themselves and they sell them.
Yeah, Creative Market has a lot of them too.
Yeah, Creative Market's got some, and there's also Tim somebody. I have to look it up, but I'll do some research on people that create and sell these brushes. But like I said, there's thousands of these brushes out there that you can get and play with. So to sum up here, there are, like I said, there's all kinds of applications out there for. You would like to do Procreate, okay? You like what Procreate does, and I'm not trying to sell Procreate because I'm not a seller. I just happen to like it. But if you wanted Procreate, but you don't have an iPad, I wouldn't go out and buy an iPad just to do Procreate, because that would be a very expensive
Try not to use your hands so much.
drawing
It's
program
making-
that you have. So, but Procreate itself is only like $10, and it's well worth the cost for it. But if you don't have Procreate or you don't have an iPad, but you do have a different type of
Oh, James, Melanie wants to know if the area you just showed, like a place to practice for each brush. So was that area you just showed like a place to practice for each brush?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about that too. One of the things I like to do as I draw or color a picture that's already there, okay, is I'll use a layer for that. Okay, so right now I start off, I got a blank canvas here with nothing on it.
That's what I think she's asking about.
So here's a blank canvas, and usually what I do is, okay, I might draw myself, so I'll use a layers and I'll start drawing. Okay, or we do what we did before is I'll bring in a photo of some type to color on that. Okay, so if I want to grab a brush and test it out, what I'll do is I'll make a separate layer. So I'll just come in the layers and add a layer. Okay.
Do that again. Which
Do it
button
again?
is it?
Okay, so let me get rid of that. So here's my canvas here with one layer that has Winky Wand on it. Okay. Instead of me drawing over here to test it out and then erasing it, okay, I'll come up in this corner here. So you got your drawing, you got your smudge, you have your eraser, and over here you have your layers. So I click on that and it brings the layers palette up, and I click on the plus sign over here and it adds a new layer. Okay, and it automatically puts you on that layer. Okay, so now when I go to draw, I'm drawing on that layer. Okay, so I'll get out of there and I'll go to my brush and I'll go find a brush that I would like to try to use. Okay, so let's say I want to try out this one here called Stucco. So I'll grab that and I can start drawing over here and see what it looks like, and I can change the sizes. Okay, and I can even go right over top of Winky Wanda here. Okay, but I'm not worried about it because I can just go and hide that layer because I'm not even using it. And I want a different layer to color on because I don't want to color on Winky Wanda myself. I want to keep that blank. So I'll add another layer. And this is now the layer I'm going to color on. And I'll go back to my brush, get the color I want to use, and I can start coloring where I want.
Did you show them how to pull a canvas from the gallery?
No. The only thing I did is a blank one, which I can do one more time here. So let's go and I'll get rid of all of this. Delete. And I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. So when you first go into Procreate, you'll start off in like the gallery, and then you want to start a new drawing or a new picture, whichever. You go to the plus sign, and you have your canvases over here. You got one called screen size. Now these are the ones that come with it. You got screen size, and it shows you over here the size in pixels, how big that the resolution is. Then you got square, which is a perfect square one, and it's 2048 by 2048. Then you got your 4K. Then you got your A4 size, 4x6 photo, and here's 8.5 or 11 by 8.5, 6 by 9.5. And this untitled canvas is probably one that I stuck in because I was playing around with, because you can create your own canvas by clicking right there, and you can put in the size and a few other things in there. So you can create your own. Let me cancel that. So anyway, you would pick the canvas you want. So normally if I'm just playing around, most of the time I use screen size. And so you just tap on the one you want, and then it brings up your empty canvas.
Okay, Melanie has a question.
Yes.
When you were showing the details, like the jitter size and all of those other things of a brush,
Yes.
there's a canvas over to the right-hand side of that somebody else pre-showed you.
Yeah, that's a sample of the actual brush.
She wants to know, is that someplace that you can, if you were to make adjustments to that brush, can you draw there as well and test to see what the brush would look like when you've changed it.
Yes, and I'll try it. It's been a while since I've done it, but I'm going to go ahead and try it for you. So I'm going to go into one here called Jim's
Don't forget
brushes.
to copy your brush first.
Right. Well, that's why I'm going into Jim brushes, because these are some other ones that I've done.
Oh, okay.
But when we do that, let's see if I remember correctly here. It's been a long time. There we go. So I see I slid it to the right, and I hit. Well, let's do that again. So I find the brush I want to play around with and duplicate and modify. All right. So we're gonna go this in here, and I'm gonna just kind of slide it to the left, and then you got share, duplicate, and delete. Okay. Well, I'm gonna do a duplicate. Okay. So now it's got Holy Fill 1. So I have my original. Now I can go into here and start messing around with this. Okay, so you can see I can draw on this, right? Oh, right over top the original one that was there. And if I change a setting here, you can see.
Oh, you can draw on it.
You can see it's changing, all right? So you can see what happens, what the brush is going to do as you make your changes to each one of these. So there's a lot of settings that you can do with this. And I haven't played with all of them yet. But if you sit around and just play around with it, you get a better idea of what's going on.
I did one with some hearts that kind of got closer to each other and farther away.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of stuff you can change. Now, with this hue and stuff, there are some brushes where no matter what color you pick, it's got a set of colors, or it uses the hue of some of those colors and changes as you.
Yeah,
as
it adapts
draw.
the brush during the middle and stuff.
So, like, for example, this particular brush here, like dry pencil, right? If I pick a color, that's the color it's going to be, all right? But there are other brushes, like I believe it was down here, like in Luminance, I believe, and Nebula. Here's a good example. Now, if I go and I got orange selected, but I draw, you can see there's a few different colors in here. I'm going to make this a little smaller. So you can see it's got a few different colors already built into it. But if I change that to blue, now that's going to still change this though. So it's got some blue and some purple. But I'm pretty sure those are things that you can set inside of the brush editor, where you can make your own, copy and then modify some of the brushes that are in there.
Could you explain to Melanie? She understands now that little side canvas, when you're inside of the jitter and all of those other things of a brush, that canvas is just a spot to adjust the brushes. I think she's looking for, where can you just practice and find out what the brushes look like? So I think she's confused with the fact that you can just open a blank canvas and start, and that's where you can actually practice. So maybe we should just open a blank canvas.
And that's what I usually do.
Yeah.
Is, when I'm trying to learn what the brushes do.
You don't have to save it. It doesn't have to be stored anywhere. You can delete everything you did. Right.
So I just, even here, I'm going to take this layer here. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it test layer.
Practice.
Okay. So now when I go to do my drawing, I know I won't use test layer for my actual picture. I'll make a new layer. Okay. So I'll keep test layer maybe on the bottom or the top. It doesn't matter. But I'll do my normal drawing on this other layer. Okay. So I'll grab my pencil and whatever and start, doing my drawings. Right. But now I want to say, okay, I want a different brush, but I need to test it out. Okay.
Yeah, what's it look like?
What I can do is I can hide the layer that I'm working on, and I'll go to my test layer, okay? And I'll say, okay, well, how does this one here work? So I'll grab that, and I can start playing around with that, and I can change the size. And once I get my pencil to the right width and so on to the way I like it, okay, well, now I can hide that out of the way and bring back my other layer that I'm working on, and they'll start, whoops. Got to make sure I click on the layer I want on. So I'm on the layer I want to work with, and now I can start drawing, because now I know what my pencil's like. If I want to switch to a new pencil, and try it out. So let's say I go to painting here, and I want to try this one. All right. I don't want to draw right now on top of my actual artwork. So I'll hide my artwork and bring back my practice layer, and I can start. Again, you got to make sure you have that layer clicked on. So now I can start testing it out and making sure that's what I want, and it does what I wanted to do. Once I got my brush designed the way I want it, then I can go back and hide my practice layer and bring up my art layer and start. Again, you got to make sure that when you select your layers, you got to be selected on the layer you want to work on. There you go. And now I can start drawing on my layer here. I can get my smudger out, start smudging stuff around. So that's how I usually do that, how I pick my brushes.
You gotta find the right one. Some of them aren't going to be the right one that you want.
Yeah, some of them, when you look at the picture, it might look right, but it may not do exactly what you want until you play around with it and see what it does. Because some of them might surprise you what they do, because you might look at the picture and looks one way, okay, but what really sometimes happens that the actual pen itself may not be round. Okay, so for example, this if I go to painting here, this one here, the actual brush is round, and if I change the size, you can see it even better. It's round, okay, but you can come across other brushes where they're not really round. They have an oblong shape, and you can see there's spots open, so it's got a texture to it. And as I go around, you can see the brush actually rotates. And that's more like a
stamping.
Yeah, it's kind of stamps.
Drawing with a brush.
So that's why it's good to sometimes have a practice, a test layer.
Yeah.
To see what the brush actually does, and to be able to adjust it to the size you like before I actually start putting it on your artwork.
It's also pressure sensitive, right?
Yes, I think pretty much every brush that I've done so far are pressure sensitive. So even here, as I go, let me clear this out here. Test layer. Actually, I don't want to delete it. I'm going to erase. That's what I'm going to do. Be on the test layer. Hit the eraser. It's hidden. There you go.
I can't see what buttons you're pushing with your hands.
Oh, I was just trying to get the right layer. I actually drew on the wrong layer. So when I was playing around, I was actually on the wrong layer here. So anyway, yeah.
Are you using an Apple stencil or some other stylus that he wants to know?
I'm using an Apple pencil. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when I first started drawing on the iPad, the first iPad wasn't an iPad Pro. It was a regular iPad. And I had a basic stylus. You've seen the old stylus where it looks like a pencil, but it's got this black rounded rubber end, and you can use it on just about any screen that's a touch screen, right? But they're not very accurate, okay? So there was a company called, I forget the name of the company, but they came out with a pencil that had a point like this, but it also had a flat, round, clear plastic end. And it still worked just like the old stylus. So it was a little more accurate, but it was still not quite as accurate as these. So on an iPad Pro, the screen is improved and the pencil is highly improved. Now this pencil is actually talking to the iPad. On the old iPads, they're not the Pros. They work on it's a capacitive sensing thing. So when it touches a screen, there's an electronic capacitance that it reads to see where it's at. Where in these new pencils, there's a whole circuit inside here. When I put my pencil on here, it charges up. So the pencil itself has a battery in it, okay, and some circuitry, and it syncs to the iPad. So now when I draw, especially now if I get, let's say I get a pen here, I'll go to inking, I get this fine tip pen. It's really, you know, right where I put my pencil is where that's going to draw. Where on the old ones, you know, I could be drawing here,
It would be
and
off
my
a bit.
pencil will be off a little bit. So the new ones are so much better. The iPad Pros they're practically designed for drawing. Is what it seems like. So they're much better. So, which is why they're a little more expensive too. I mean, the old pencils I used to buy for my old iPad, you know, I could pay between $10 to $30 for it. Where this
These are
pencil
100.
here is $110.
Yeah.
Okay, but like I said, if drawing on an iPad or any, you know, anything like this is something you'd like to do, it's well worth the money. And one way I look at this, it's like, so you've seen Tammy's desk behind me, okay, and she's got pins galore, she's got markers galore all over the place, she's got all kinds of paper and stamps, okay, not very portable, okay. I can take this iPad anywhere I want, and I got all the paint I need, every single color on the planet that I need.
All
you
the
know,
textures.
pretty much any brushes I ever want, all in here, and I can take it wherever I want and do drawings.
You know what else is nice too, James? And I'll mention this to
Yeah.
anybody that's actually art loving. When you start to color an illustration with Copic ink and you mess up, you gotta start all over.
Yes, all over. Yes.
This is just you hit the reverse button and it's gone, and you could just like start over and there's nothing lost.
Yes, and speaking of that,
Yes, we do stuff.
speaking of
Stuff's
that,
like, don't we all have that stuff?
let me clear out everything I got here. Okay. Another thing I want to show what's really cool about drawing. Okay, and this came in later. So Procreate, they keep updating stuff. Okay, the one thing that I can't do anymore. Okay, so like when I was younger, I used to draw all the time. I used to draw on paper. Art was my big thing. Well, today I can't see a straight line anymore. So I'm not as good of an artist anymore. I can't draw as well, but I still like to draw. And I definitely can't draw a straight line. Okay. So if I need to draw a straight line on the iPad, there's a couple ways I can do it. I can give myself a straight edge, right? And I can draw a straight line. Hey, that works pretty well. But there is a better way now on the iPad to do so. I'm going to make this a little thicker so you can see it better. I'm going to do black, and I'm going to get me this big studio pen. Okay, so here's a studio pen. All right. Now, if I want to draw a straight line, I can go from here and here. It's not quite straight, right? But I can start here, and I can go here, and I can hold it. And now my line is straight. And now I can move it around. Okay. And then you can see at the top here, well, I still have my pencil on here. It says line created. Okay. So now I got my line here. Now, once I let go, now it says edit shape. So now I can click on here. Oh, maybe that wasn't it. Let's try this again. Okay, edit shape. There we go. And now I can see it put 2 dots. So I can grab one dot and I can move it where I want. And I can move this dot where I want. Or I can grab it in the middle and move the whole line. Okay. Or I can say polygon. And well, that's if you get, there you go. So I got multiple shapes here. Right. So that's for a straight line. The other thing I wanted to be able to do on here that I wasn't able to do before is draw a perfect circle. Okay. It's pretty hard to draw a perfect circle, except on an iPad. Okay. So here's my attempt to draw a perfect circle. Not very good. Here's my next attempt to draw a perfect circle. Boom. So now I got an ellipse, but now I'll put my finger on here. Now I got a circle. I can click on here. That takes care of everything though, but let me do something else here. I'm going to clear this out. And again, I'm going to draw a circle. So I draw the circle and then I hold my pencil there. And then if I put my finger on there, it makes a perfect circle. All right. And then I can say edit shape. So now I can I can change it, move it around. Okay, so right now it's an ellipse, and I can move the ellipse where I want it, or I can hit circle, and it makes it a perfect circle, and I can move the circle around. And then if I go to change it, if I grab onto this, it's going to make an ellipse again. But if I put my finger, let's see, one way, there's a way, maybe I just got to hit circle again. But you can change the size of it, however you need it to, make it back to circle if you need so.
You move the circle with your finger too.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is a square. Okay, so now it comes up, and it's not a perfect square, but once you hit edit shape, well, you can make it a rectangle, quadrilateral, polygon. Okay, then you can adjust it from there however you need to. I can make a, let's see if I do the, clear this out of the way again. Let's erase this. Draw a square again. Okay, I can also do triangle. I can do an arc. I can edit the arc. So it's pretty handy. They also have a drawing tool. So I'm going to show you one last thing before we wrap this up. Let me clear all this out here. If you go into the toolbox and to Canvas and drawing guide, so we can turn the drawing guide on. You can see it's got all these lines in here. Okay, you can edit the drawing guide, and I can make it right now it's 2D.
So it's like graph paper.
Yeah, it's like graph paper, but I can make it isometric. I can make it perspective, and with perspective, you tell it a center point. I don't know how many of you guys ever done perspective drawing before, but you have a center point, or you can have a couple center points. And I'm going to just do the simple one center point, point of view, right? It's your vanishing point. Okay. Now it's got these lines in there. You can change the color of the lines. Okay. And then you can change the opacity of it, all that, the thickness, and then you can hit done. Okay, so now I got this line perspectives I can draw with. So if I want to draw a line,
Like
a straight
character
line,
drawing, that'd be cool.
yeah, I can start here and I can draw myself straight line there, and draw a straight line there, and I can draw a straight line from here to here. Now I got myself a road. Perspective. So you got your vanishing point. There's also one more thing on this. We're on the drawing guide. You can have drawing, assisted drawing. And when you turn that on, now all my lines are going to be straight automatically wherever I draw. So that's your drawing assistant. So anyway, that's your basics of the iPad application. There's a whole lot more that can be done with this, especially once you get into the layers and stuff and how you can do some shading in there. But
More Thursdays.
we have more to come. So what I would like from you guys is, if you still want to learn some more on this, if there's anything in particular that you would like to see how to do or see done on an iPad, put it in the comments and we'll try to get something set up. So thanks for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week, actually with Tammy, when she does her thing. And then you'll see me probably in a couple weeks. Have a good night.